There is a method to the madness when it comes to how to write positive affirmations. My home is paid off, my cars are paid off, and I have a decent bank balance. To be very clear, I'm not a millionaire, but whatever I have, I own it completely, which means I'm debt free. And apart from work, I have used something called as affirmations. So I think I know a thing or two about how to write positive affirmations that actually work. So if you're interested in learning about how that can work for you, keep watching. Hello and welcome to Live to the Fullest. One thing I want to very clearly mention: affirmations is an extremely powerful tool. So if it can work in a very positive way, if affirmations are not designed correctly, it will also work in a very strong negative way. That is precisely the reason why I am making this video, especially for you, so that I can explain the principles behind writing affirmations that will work in our favor. So tighten your seatbelts for one of the most detailed and exciting tutorials you would have ever seen on how to write positive affirmations effectively. For today's examples, I will be using affirmations from my ebook, my free ebook that I offer on livetothefullest.net. So log on to the website, and when you sign up for the newsletter, you will get free 110 positive affirmations, and exciting ones that have actually worked or are work in progress for me, for myself, and they have worked. So let's dive in right away. The first principle that we want to understand is how long or how short should affirmations be. Now if you look at my table of contents, obviously this looks like a really long ebook. It has 42 pages, which obviously means that I have not provided affirmations that are extremely short, and I will cover that, why we can afford to have long affirmations, because I know that the common understanding is that if you want to use affirmations, they have to be very short, they have to be very precise, so that you can speak them easily, something that you won't even have to per se memorize. But that's not the case, because the technique that we will be using for implementing our positive affirmations is very quick, very easy. You don't have to manually say it, which is why you can actually afford to have longer affirmations. That's the first thing. How long and how short should they be will depend on how we use it. Okay. The next question people ask me is, how do you use? You have such a long list of affirmations. I mean, nobody will have the time to read this every single day. There's no freaking way anybody can read this, right? And I completely agree with that. If you have a short affirmation, short set of affirmations, you can manually say it every single day. I personally find that very tiring, because it's so dependent that if I pick up the piece of paper or my phone and I actually read it. So what I have done is, and I've done this over the years and I've refined it, I actually have a really long self-talk for different spheres of my life, and I've recorded it. And I hear that, at least if not every single day, the goal is to get to every single day, but more often than not. And I've recorded it. Once you've recorded it, you don't have to worry about reading it out or taking out time and consciously putting in time and trying to practice self-talk and practice affirmations. This is something, if you've recorded it, just in the background, if it's playing, your subconscious mind is going to pick it up and it's going to do the magic. The method that I use is based on the book What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. That's by Dr. Shad Hemstetter. I think he is the ultimate person to talk about affirmations and self-talk and reprogramming the subconscious mind. And I completely followed the book. And this is something I done 8 years ago. 8 years ago. So of course I've refined my affirmations and my self-talk over this period. Affirmations will work only if we use them consistently. That's a very big requirement for affirmations to work, that they have to be used consistently. So then how do we make it consistent? We want to have everything in life, right? We want to at least cover the 5 F's of success, right? Fitness, faith, flourish, finances, and family and friends. You record it in your own voice and you put it on your phone and you just listen to it. Now, I know it seems very silly, right? Silly of recording self talk or saying things to yourself or talking to yourself. Other people might think that we are insane, right? But who cares what other people think, right? That is also a part of our negative self image when we care too much about what other people think. Self talk is something, when we do it consciously and when we design it and we write it correctly, we write our affirmations correctly based on what goals we are trying to achieve. It's an extremely useful tool to build up yourself, to build your self image, to build your confidence, and to cultivate a new habit. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's one of the most powerful tools. How do we want to write? What goals do we want to target? Now, as you can see here on the screen, uh, I have divided them based on the 5 F's of success. According to me, this is something I had read in a book and I tweaked it a little bit. Fitness, faith, flourish, which means flourishing in terms of your internal growth, your self discipline, finances, family, and friends. So I have divided them on these 5 spheres, which I feel are important for my life, and I think for most people would be important. And I have written affirmations on each one of them. Now, have you used any affirmations on any of these areas of your life, or is there any specific one that you would like me to cover? Then let me know in the comment section below, and I will be happy to cover that. So, we're going to pick up finances because that's where most people feel that they can benefit, and a lot of people are struggling with loans or debt, or would want to do better in their profession. So, let's discuss finances as an example, and I will go one by one through the style of writing affirmations. So, let's go to finances. Home. You have to write affirmations in present tense, which means you have to tell your subconscious mind that you actually already own the thing, that you've already acquired it. Now, let's go through it. Uh, an example would be, I have a beautiful X bedroom Y bath. So it could be, 3 bedroom, 2 baths, or 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, spacious home at a very comfortable location. So this is just the first example. Notice how we are using present tense, which means that we already own the house. We are telling our mind that this is what I already have. My house feeds into exemplary schools. The house is very well built and strong. So you are already telling your mind that you own it. You have to excite all your 5 senses if possible. Okay, which means the more vivid you are in your explanation, the more specific you are, the easier it will be for your mind to paint a picture. And of course, positive affirmations go very well in hand, they go hand in hand with the power of visualization as a tool. So you have to visualize it as well with the help of pictures. That will be a separate video. But here, in written affirmations, try to be as specific, as vivid as possible. Spacious house, safe neighborhood, because that was something very important to me. You want to be very specific. Whatever is important to you, mention that in your affirmation. So try to be as vivid as possible. Very built, strong, it's beautiful. If you want a lake facing house, mention very specifically, when I stand in my balcony of the second floor, I can see a beautiful lake, or I can see the golf course. The more vivid you make it, the more your mind will be willing to accept it. All right, let's move on to the next example. Let's go on to cars. So now this is a very generic one because this is an ebook that I have provided for free on my website livetothefullest.net. But you obviously, it's kind of a given, since we talked about being specific, you have to mention what luxury car, specifically the color and the model that you want. So obviously, since this is an ebook for everybody out there, I have kept it generic. But if somebody wants to use this for cars, they will have to mention the exact car, the exact model that they want to use. This is going in with the principle of how we talked about, that everything has to be specific. Use your name. Now, there are a lot of different ideas behind this aspect, that whether I should use my name or whether I should use I am or my name, like Sonia. Well, in that case, what I have tried is I've tried both. So in a lot of places I've said your name, which means Sonia's beautiful house is comfortably paid off, or Sonia has a beautiful uh, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, spacious home at a very comfortable location. So it's totally up to you. Sometimes experts recommend don't use your name. Sometimes they recommend using I am. I have used both, and they both work. Next, not using words like debt. Now, if we want to be debt free, the mind cannot absorb anything that is a not. For example, if I tell you to think of a pink elephant, what exactly are you thinking of right now? A pink elephant. Now, if I tell you don't think of a pink elephant, what are you thinking of right now? A pink elephant, because the mind cannot work in negatives. It works with imagery, it works with pictures and videos. So it cannot say it, because in order to say no or don't think about it, it has to first understand what is it that we want, and then we are trying to tell the mind don't think about it. So it doesn't function that way. It will picturize. In order to understand what you're communicating to it, the mind will picture whatever you are mentioning. So if I mention the word debt, I have just attracted or painted a picture of debt. And debt means what? What is the first thing we think of? We think of banks, we think of mortgages, we think of bills. It's not a good word, it's not a positive word, it doesn't give a good feeling. So coming back to the affirmations, how are we going to write it? So, what are the words that we will be using? We will not be using words like debt. We will be using words like paid off, because that's exactly what we want to tell the mind. In fact, this was, I think, one of the hardest to write, because it's so difficult to say that you want to be debt free, right? You want to be debt free, but that's not the right way to write the affirmation, because that's a negative. That's picturing debt in our mind. So we have to use the word paid off. I am not mentioning the word mortgage. If you notice that, I am mentioning payments. Okay, because mortgage again has somewhat of a negative connotation. It means debt. We want to avoid that. Almost all the amount we paid contributed towards the principal amount, which means that you want to pay less interest and you want to make fast payments. As if you know how interest works, you know that you want to add your extra payments or cumulative payments on your principal amount. So that's an example of how we want to be very specific, how uh, we don't want to use no or negative words. Very important. This is, I think, the most critical part of writing affirmation. Now, specific date, that's the next point. And this is a bit, again, there are several theories about people who write affirmations. Some people say that don't write dates, some people say do write dates. I have personally used dates very successfully. I highly recommend it. So what is the difference? Let's say for dates, for payoff dates. One theory says that because you're telling your mind that this is something you already own. See, I bought my car cash paid. So I've already bought it. I'm already enjoying it. So I'm already the owner of that beautiful car. Now, if you mention the date, you're kind of conflicting and you're telling your mind that, hey, you already have this car, but then you have a date, like a future date to it. So it can be conflicting. So that kind of makes sense. But let's go back to the logic as to why I think the dates actually work. The reason being that some part of your brain is also going to kick in that is logical, and it's going to say, come on, you have a beat up XYZ old car. Maybe a car that you don't like, you hate it, you have to pray before you start it. And now you're telling me that you have a cash paid car, and that to a luxury car or a car of your desire, something that's beyond your reach right now. Like, are you kidding me? So I don't add the word buy, buy June 2018. I do not add any word like by or till or until, any of these words. What I say is I bought my car, cash paid, this was the payoff date. Or I bought my car, cash paid, December 2014 or December 2018. Whatever is the target date. But I don't mention it by, or it's not a deadline. It's not in the future. It's like you have bought it, cash paid, December 2018. And your mind will work. Trust me on that. I prefer dates, but if you choose to not write dates, that's totally up to you. For me, dates have worked. This is my free ebook that I'm providing on livetothefullest.net. Don't forget to download it. You don't have to write any of this. You can just download it. It's all available for free. So let's talk about that. That's the most interesting part. So look at this. No debt means what? That, see, if I'm making $15 million and I'm spending $18 million, I am in debt. It doesn't matter how much you make. But if your expenditure is higher than your earnings plus your savings, then you are in debt, unfortunately, right? So our goal is that we have to have our paid off home, paid off cars, whatever the big wigs are completely paid off, and then on top of that we have some bank savings. So these affirmations are specifically for that. So now notice what I'm saying. I totally own my home and my cars. Totally own my home and my cars. I am not saying I am debt free. Very important. I totally own my home and my cars, and I have a solid bank balance. Of course, you can mention the amount that you want, like I've mentioned here, that I have more than $100,000 plus, because sometimes, you don't want to restrict yourself, right? You don't want to say $100,000. You want to say $100,000 plus, especially for finances. You have to be a little bit careful because you don't want to stop the flow of money. What if you make 150, right? So you want to make sure that you get the entire 150. So our affirmations should leave room for flexibility. So $100,000 plus in the bank as savings. Again, I had inserted a date. Personally, I have used dates for this specific goal, and whatever amount I had put in there, I have exceeded that actually at this point. I think I need to update my affirmations. But this is not to show off, not to brag. This is just giving you the proof that if you're learning from someone that has actually used this. I'm not a guru, I'm not a kahuna, I'm not a millionaire, but I do know how to be debt free. And that's exactly what I'm trying to teach here in this video through affirmation. As long as you take care of the principles that I've mentioned in this video, you should be all set. This is one of my most passionate topics because I think the power of self-talk is tremendous. It's an extremely powerful tool that we can use consciously to program our mind with positive affirmations. And of course, even if we don't use it consciously, we do end up using it negatively most of the times if we are not conscious about it, because it's just a neutral tool. It depends on how I use it. If I use positive words with myself, then I am programming my mind positively. If I'm using negative words or criticizing myself constantly, or something that doesn't even seem like criticism, but I'm using it daily on a consistent basis, then it's going to program my mind negatively, and I'm going to develop that habit. I hope this video has helped you, and if you've enjoyed this discussion, please remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel.